Underground radio.
What does it mean to be underground? It means you gotta be free to be underground. Yo, you got your own key when you're underground. If you're listening to me, yo, you underground.
Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Underground Radio C here on Just TV, Just FM, of course, Underground Radio C. We're also live streaming through Roku TV. Now, more recent has been Meta TV. That's been integrated now probably for a couple months here on Just TV, Just FM. So you can also go watch on Meta TV. No, this is not like the Meta Facebook and Instagram, that Meta. This is different. You go metatv.com. We are live streaming there like right now. You can go watch it. It's amazing. It's fun because this Meta TV streams out live through Italy and also through like Great Britain. It's pretty cool. But we also stream through the NCD television network in Italy. And we've been doing that for many, many, many years. So those of you over in Italy, good morning. I know it's 3 a.m. over there because I had your film producer, Virgil, on here before a few months ago. So I know it's bright and early and I appreciate you guys coming in. Sit back, relax, have your espressos. We're going to dig right in because tonight we got a really fun interview for you. And this is one interview that, you know, maybe someone in the States can really kind of, you know, get used to. I know somebody maybe in Italy could like their work. I know this is the type of person that you really want to get to know because their work is amazing and fabulous. And I think you might see it on big screens soon. Let's find out. Let's welcome in our guest. The fabulous and wonderful Cris Graves.
Yeah, Graves. Yeah.
Graves. Perfect. I usually like my guests kind of introducing themselves because I'm like, if I say it wrong, because it may have like this, it might not be Graves, it might be Graves or something fabulous. And I'm like, I'm saying it wrong.
Well, for your French audience, it comes from the word Greaves, which is the shin plate of armor. And we were armorers for we were in Normandy, William the Conqueror. So we were armorers. We built their armor and we came into England. And then we're given a shield and a motto for the work we did to conquer England, apparently. I don't know. But yes, my name is Cris Graves. It's just like tombstones, a little morbid, but I like it. And I'm a filmmaker. I write comedy. If you hadn't figured that out by now, then I don't know where your funny bone is. Yeah, I've lived in Los Angeles since 1996 and worked in film and TV since then. Before that, I caught the bug at the tender age of 8, having seen Close Encounters of the Third Kind when my sister took me to the theater in 1978 and came out of there going, I want to do that. To which my sister said, what, be abducted? But I was a little kid.
Of course.
And I said, yes, of course, that, but also I want to make that. And somehow my little 8-year-old brain had figured out that someone whose name was Steven Spielberg, I did not know that at the time, but then would later become obsessed with him, as many Gen X filmmakers have become obsessed with Steven Spielberg, had made this story that was there to entertain me, this visual story. And so I started writing the next day and reading.
Like the next day, the very next day.
Pretty much. And I have, it's right over there. I have my first handwritten attempt at a screenplay, which was an episode of an old show called Moonlighting from the 80s that I hand wrote in 8th grade. And then I also discovered that American movies, I grew up in Mexico City, so I'm what's called a third culture kid. I was born in New Hampshire, but moved to Mexico City when I was 1 and lived down there until I was 19, basically, like months before my 19th birthday when I went to college in the US. And so Mexico City's my hometown, really. And they used to film a lot of American films. I think they still do, but they filmed an awful lot of them, of American films, down in Mexico City in the 80s. And there was a house near mine in the neighborhood I grew up in that they used to use a lot. And so I snuck onto an awful lot of film sets.
Okay, like what? What were they filming?
There was a film called Missing that had Jack Lemmon and Sissy Spacek in it, about Chile and Pinochet and people being disappeared, which is a little relevant to my life right now because I live in Los Angeles. But if anyone's getting that news outside of the US, people are being disappeared from our streets by ICE. But Jack Lemmon ran into me when I was 9 walking by the gate. This is actually how I discovered they were filming a movie there. Yeah. And my dad was a very, very big Jack Lemmon fan. So I'd already seen things like The Apartment by the time I was 9. And when this middle-aged man I was walking by this big metal door. In Mexico, all of the houses are behind walls and metal doors and stuff. They know the guards aren't just out. And the door opened and he came out and kind of knocked into me. And I looked up and I was like, "You're Jack Lemmon," kind of basically, and charmed the pants off Jack Lemmon because I was a 9-year-old American kid in Mexico City who knew who he was. And he invited me back the next day. He said, "I'll get you on set." And I sat in a director's chair. And the scenes that they were shooting inside of this house, which was it was a giant, I did not grow up in a mansion. I want to say this. I grew up in a regular 3-bedroom house. There were 6
suburban.
Yeah, basically Mexican suburban. We were in the city. We weren't in the suburbs, but yeah.
Oh, okay.
But there were 6 kids and 3 bedrooms. So like, by then my oldest brother was out of the house, but one of my brothers, actually he was 16 years older than me, and he moved back home and he lived out in the hallway area. Yeah. And then 2 of my brothers were in one room. And then my sister, who was in and out, she was 13 years older than me. So sometimes I had my own room when she was gallivanting and doing her trip around Europe. Or
when are you going out again?
And then when she lived and was my roommate, she would get home late, and I thought that it was alligators under my bed. So I was you did not show me. My mom would not allow me to watch horror films because of my imagination. It would mean I was up for a month. All that to say, he invited me to the set, and I was this 9-year-old kind of redheaded, tow-headed, kind of blonde kid just sitting in a director's chair, just watching. And years later, I would learn, because I didn't watch Missing until I was probably in high school. Yeah. But I learned then that I was watching Milos Forman, who's an amazing filmmaker, and ended up teaching at Columbia Film School because I have a friend who was taught by him, and just did a lot of films. But I didn't know that's who I was watching, but I was. And I remember him, and the person who must have been the first AD. For those of you who don't know how a film set is built, you've got the director, and yes, they do generally say action. But the person who
they say marker.
No, that's not the director. Usually.
The director's like, what did they say?
They say
quiet on set.
No, that's what I'm trying to get to. So the director will say action usually. Yeah. If they like that. If you're more towards the school of, say, a Clint Eastwood or other more modern directors, they usually will say something like "whenever you're ready" to the actors, and it's a little less jarring than action. Action's kind of a legacy thing from back in the day.
It's just who's watched too much TV?
People who say rolling and cut are the AD staff and the PAs. So the first AD is really the general of the set. And then under them, they have a second AD and a second. And then under them, there's a whole, depending on how large the set is, meaning is it a studio film? Is it an independent film? All of that. They have a little army of production assistants.
Yeah.
And so you'll hear them going, quiet on set. That's when you hear it going off into the distance, right? But Milos and his first AD walked up to me, and I remember them like, who are you? And I was like, yeah. And
I'm just the neighbor kid.
live over there. And,
Jack
Jack invited me, and Jack kind of talked to them, and they were just, I just remember Milos being pretty taken with me because I was this 9-year-old kid who wasn't making any noise, and stuff. And he asked, and I'm like, oh no, I like watching and learning. This is what I want to do when I grow up. And him kind of being charmed by that. And then I met Tom Hanks when he was doing Volunteers. I was in 7th or 8th grade. I can't remember. And they had been in Mexico for a couple months by then. They'd shot the Volunteers was a movie where he played this like rich kid brat, entitled kid who joined his roommate. He was graduating from college, and he had bet a bunch of money on a game that lost. And you learn this like he's listening to it on his little earpiece during graduation, and he learns that the team loses, so he owes a bunch of money, and his dad's not going to help him out of it. So his roommate, you learned, was joining the Peace Corps, and so he joins the Peace Corps to get away from the people he owes money to. And
Smart.
You kind of follow him on this, this trip, right?
Yeah.
I believe that's the actual film where he met his current wife, who was not his wife at the time. So Rita Wilson was in Volunteers, I believe. If I'm wrong, your listeners can correct me.
Yeah, you guys just comment, and then we'll.
Yeah, and then but
no.
I knew somehow I'd gotten wind that Volunteers was in town, was here, and then they were coming, and I was like, oh, maybe they'll film someday. And then I learned that they were coming to the house. And the thing was, in Los Angeles and most of the country in United States, the trucks that show up with the gear and stuff, like, a film set's around when they're these big white trucks that hold the gear, or there's what we call honey wagons, which are little individual porticles where the smaller actors go and change their clothes, or they get to sit down, or there's a production wagon where all of the production staff is with their paperwork, and then you'll have bigger like motorhome type things that are for the bigger named actors, right?
Right. Yeah.
And depending on how big the film is or the budget is. Right. And so in Mexico, those are blue, those big trucks. So I always knew when the blue truck showed up that there was a movie.
The special trucks are here.
Oh no, I'd run up to my room and
the encounters are here.
Well, I would run up to my room and I would make like I was doing my homework for about an hour. It was like the worst, like whatever. And then I would literally set up my desk. Like it would look like I'd done my homework. It was art directed. It was everything. And then I was gone out the door to figure out how to get on the set. And some sets were closed. So I had to be more sneaky about it and figure out how to get a lighting person or a grip or someone to let me on the set. And some sets were open and I would sneak on and just kind of sit in a corner and ingratiate myself and be charming. For Volunteers, in my head, I was like, oh, if I run into Tom Hanks, I'm going to ask him if I can interview him for the school newspaper. Because in my head, I had this big thing in my head, like that everybody, because I was not the most popular. Shocker. I was a theater kid, film kid. I was not popular.
I was in theater too. It's okay.
No, I'm just saying.
Still not popular.
It's all fine. But in my head, I was like, I can interview him, and then I'll put it in the school newspaper and everyone will love me, right?
Yeah.
And
I'll be the star of the show.
but and I loved him, like Splash and Big and like all.
Oh, Big was like my favorite. I want a trampoline in my place.
But I remember getting there and it was a closed set and there was this young man. He was like probably late 20s, early 30s, hanging out by the gate. And it turned out he was a grip. And so grips, for anyone out there, they deal with anything that a light is on, not the lights themselves.
Like boom.
No, that's the audio. Completely different department.
Let me think.
No, but so a grip will deal with, like, if you hear somebody say, call in a flag, and you see a big, like, square thing with, like, black felt material on it that they're putting on it to cut the light into a certain direction.
Oh, there we go.
What a grip deals with. The lighting crew only handles the lights and the stands the lights go on. So anyway, it was a grip, and I knew they had been in Mexico for at least 2 months before they started shooting the stuff in Mexico City.
Yeah, to scout it, right? They came in.
No, there was a lot of jungle stuff and volunteers, so they'd been in a different state shooting the jungle stuff.
Oh, okay, very cool.
And John Candy, I believe, was in volunteers as well. I didn't get to meet him, sadly.
It's too bad.
He's
Yeah,
also a favorite of mine and a Canadian.
of course.
Brilliant. One of the brilliant Canadian comedians. You guys are really good at producing some
Funny
of my
stuff.
comedians. So I was in Mexico in the 80s, and starting the mid 70s through the 80s, there was an embargo on American products because the government felt like too many rich Mexicans were going up to the US to spend their money up there instead of Mexico. And
Right.
it started just around Christmas time, and then it became all year. So I grew up without seeing American products on the shelves. I've been to Mexico since, obviously, in the 2000s. At some point, all of those walls came down. And it's the weirdest, like, me being in Mexico City, seeing a 7-Eleven is the weirdest thing to me, because
I can imagine.
it was absolutely not. But so what my dad would do is he would sneak us candy. So a bag of Hershey Kisses or M&Ms. And then I would take these candies.
Yeah.
And I would use them to bribe people to let me on the set, because I knew that they hadn't had candy for a while.
That's good currency.
And so I was in the midst of bribing this grip who was taking his smoke break. And I believe it was Hershey's Kisses I had at the time, at that particular point. And all of a sudden, the door flies open of the motorhome that was parked right by the door, and out bounds Tom Hanks. And I'm just like, my mouth must have been on the ground.
Like, hey, dude, what's up? Hershey Kiss?
I was totally starstruck. I
would be too, totally.
I was 13 and starstruck. Okay. And he comes bounding, and he saw me, and he comes bounding directly at me, and he's like, "Hey, how's it going?" I'm like, "Hey, how are you?" And he shakes my hand, and I go, "I'm doing pretty good." And he goes, "I'm like, you having a good time in Mexico?" It's great, it's great. And I go, "Hey, do you want a Hershey's Kiss?" And he goes, "No, I'm just, but I do have to get to set." And he took off. He was like, "Nice meeting you," whatever. And he goes, and then I'm like sitting there, and I'm like, "Fuck, I forgot to ask him for the interview."
Because you were so starstruck, you're like,
yeah, I was so starstruck, and he came directly at me to say hi, and like he'd completely like short-circuited my,
yeah, oh yeah.
But then the grip took the bait, took some Hershey's Kisses, and he let me in, and I got to watch them film the graduation scene, a little part of it. I've watched the film, and I know that they shot the part of Tom Hanks sitting amongst the crowd, and they intercut it with something else, I think. So it was just this really interesting thing to learn later.
I actually haven't seen it, so maybe I'll have to go back and watch it, because I was like, yeah, I've seen Splash and Big, and those were like the big ones, but
it's not his greatest film, I will tell you that. But
okay.
It's good. I mean, it's But anyway, he so that was one another film, and then my first paid job was to be a background artist, or what they called back then an extra, but you don't call them that anymore, you call them background artists. But on the original Total Recall film with Arnold Schwarzenegger, because they shot it in Mexico City, in various areas of the city, and then an awful lot. Like the rest of it was shot at Churubusco Studios, which is basically as big as Warner Brothers lot or Universal lot here in Los Angeles. And I'm not sure what the Vancouver equivalent is, but
CW.
It's a giant movie studio that's been there for probably 100 years now or over. Myself and 3 of my brothers and my best friend were all background artists in various parts of the film. And and that was my first, and I did that the summer before I went to college. And the year I graduated high school, my dad retired he was a general manager for a multinational corporation, which is why I was in Mexico City. Okay. And so his region was Mexico, Central America, South America, and the Caribbean for a company called Nashua Corporation, which was based out of New Hampshire, which is why I was born in New Hampshire originally.
Because you had been to Mexico and you're from,
And one of my brothers was born in Mexico because it was the 3rd time the family had lived in Mexico.
Oh, wow. Cool.
So anyway, he retired because the company had been sold to a Chinese conglomerate that last year that we were down there. Yeah. And so my parents moved to Miami to retire, and I went to college in New Hampshire, and I studied theater, technical theater, and English creative writing in undergrad. Yeah. And I wrote many one-act plays and directed them in our black box and helped start the student theater group with a group of friends of mine. And I was the first student they allowed to write a play for the main stage. They did a play called Orchards, which is a series of one-act plays based on Chekhov short stories. And so they took one of the short stories out and let me pick a Chekhov short story and write. So I did the bet. And then a professor directed it. And then I also designed the lights or the scenery for the main stage here and there. Then went to grad school at the University of Illinois, Champaign-Urbana. And I studied theater technology, which is a very fancy way of saying I was a carpenter.
I did 7
years. It's basically the technical director takes the designs from the scene designer and really has to figure out with the budget how to make their design in the most efficient way for the budget, but also take into account their creative vision if you're doing it well. Right. And there's many ways of doing that. And the designers really loved working with me because I was also a scene designer. I just happened to be studying the technical. So I took their vision very seriously and was always very good about that. And then my first, within the first couple of weeks of being in that program, which was a top 10 program in our country for technical direction and for technical theater, I was having a meeting with I was under what was called the entertainment technical. The technical and design department or whatever, like there was. And so, every few years, the head of that part of the department, I don't know if they voted them. I don't know how it worked out, but the person who was in charge while I was in school was a costume designer named JB, who I had a meeting with. And I said to him at some point in the meeting going, hey, do you think there'll be a chance for me to design scenery or lights for one of the main stage plays? Because I was not in that division. I was in the the theater technology. He goes, oh, well, technicians can't design. Like he said that to my face. He said that.
And you're like, well, I did before.
I was like, okay. And I went about the business of figuring out whether lighting design or scene design was the best path for me to, like, what classes I had to take.
Okay.
Things I had to do to qualify to be given the chance to design either scenery or lighting for a main stage, so I could then prove him wrong along with my master's, my MFA, like all the classes and everything. And so it turned out that the lighting design was going to be the easier route, Okay. And so I did that. and ended up designing lights for the main stage, which was a production of Uncle Vanya, another Chekhov play. And to which, in front of him, the two professors that were in charge of the lighting design program came up to me and said, "That's one of the best student designs we've seen in years," right in front of him. Yeah. And I was only the second woman to graduate from that program with the technical direction MFA. There was two women in my class. It was me and my friend Tanya, but my last name starts with a G and hers with an S, so that means I was second. Because we go by the alphabet.
Right.
But we were basically helping to break the ceiling. There's been many women after us, so that's a good thing. But it's a very dominated part of theater.
Yeah.
But I did all of that because I was always a writer, but I always had the philosophy that if a script is a conversation. People often refer to them as blueprints. I would offer that it's more of a conversation than a blueprint.
Right.
And I, as the writer, am having a conversation with everyone who's going to come into contact with my script, whether it's a play or a movie, because both artworks, labors of art are collaborative.
Mm-hmm.
A play is just a bunch of words on a piece of paper if it doesn't get performed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
A scene design, like the set that's on set or in a movie, production design, are just pieces of artwork without actors on them performing those words. Right. Really, to me, the only piece of all of this that can actually is the script and the actor that can be done anywhere without anything, right? But that's still a collaboration. The actor, unless they're improvising, still needs a script, right?
Yeah.
So with that in mind, I wanted to learn all of the things so that when I'm writing my script, I'm writing it in such a way that it has that conversation with everyone, and it's going to make sure that my vision is the closest to what is in my brain, because I've communicated it in such a way that all of those artists can understand, that are going to touch my play, including the audience at the end.
Yeah.
It's also a conversation with the audience. Yeah, and then I moved to LA with an X-file and what's called a spec script.
And now, kids, that's not like the X-Files. X-Files is just...
No, it was a TV show. It was a spec script for the X-Files.
The Scully, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just by the X-Files.
Oh, wow. Okay. I was thinking like it was an actual X-Files.
No, so in in undergrad, I'd written a spec script for Northern Exposure, which was a show in the late 80s.
We kind of know up here what that's about.
Yeah. And they're just barely, you can now watch it, which you couldn't up until now. There was like a music rights thing going on. But
that's why it hasn't been on anywhere for any time.
But I wrote a spec script for that. And that was the very first like TV script that I wrote with actually understanding how a TV script is written. And in those days, you would, in the 80s and the 90s, you would if you moved to LA, you would want to write a spec script for a popular show and try to get it to that writer's room, or to a writer who was in a writer's room, to show how
between a spec and a pilot.
Those are two different things. So a spec is a
what are the differences?
So when you write a spec script for a TV show that is already on, you are speculatively writing a script in the voice of that show, in the hopes that it gets to somebody in that writer's room and they can see that you can write that show.
Okay.
And get you on, right? A pilot is when you're creating a show from your brain and you're writing the pilot script. It's a very, and often, and I was often told that you actually want to write the second or third episode when you're trying to sell the show, not necessarily like you can write the pilot, but also write the second or third show, because and then you want to have what's called a Bible, so that lists all of the the ideas for it describes the characters, it describes the story arc for the whole, like if it's an X-File, I'm assuming the Bible had here, there's a Monster of the Week episodes, but there's also this overlying arching thing about the gray aliens that were, the Anasazi and all of that.
Right.
But you know, and then the deep state
characters,
stuff. The deep state stuff. There were, the hiding of all of that.
Yeah.
So your Bible's going to explain all of that, but it's also going to have like a synopsis for the season 1 episodes or season 1 and 2 episodes, because when a network's buying your TV show, the biggest thing they want to know is, does it have legs?
Yeah.
Is this story actually a movie that's masquerading a TV show, or is it a TV show that's got legs that can sustain over several episodes?
Yeah, seasons and yeah.
And back in those days, TV shows had anywhere from 20 to 25 episodes. That's unheard of today. You're lucky
except for my Connected W Cari shows, when this is like episode 24.
But it is an anthology because you've got different guests. But these days you're lucky if you get a 10 episode. It's usually 6 to 8.
Yeah.
So I moved to LA with some spec scripts, my computer, which I'd bought on my student whatever discount, my Apple laptop, and a backpack full of clothes, and knowing no one, and just had to work my way up and around and whatever. And I ended up in unscripted at the turn of the century because I'd been injured, and then I got on a movie. It's a long thing, but I got on a movie of the week when we used to shoot those. And then that company brought me on as what's called a runner, or an office PA. Mm-hmm. And I had been out of work for, 6 months because my knee had been recovering from knee surgery. So I was like, oh, that's steady. Oh, yeah. And then they happened to be pitching a show that I didn't quite understand what it was, but they were having me do research on islands. And I was like, okay, and
all right.
Book, because
islands are cool.
Research. I went to grad school. I know how to do research. It turned out to be a show called Temptation Island, which the first season of it, which I know they just rebooted it, but this was the one that aired in 2000, 2001. I don't know when it actually aired. We got caught in a hurricane, 40 of us, that almost killed 40 of us. And I turned 30 on the beach in Belize, where we shot it. But it also, when I got back from filming that, back in those days, what I call narrative, or you've heard scripted, it's TV shows where scripts are written and there's actors. They felt very threatened by this new thing called reality, or what I tend to call unscripted. And in some cases, documentary television, depending on the, like I work in true crime right now. I would call that more documentary than
reality. Yeah.
Reality.
When you say reality, I always think of like Survivor and those reality shows, but
I would call Survivor unscripted rather than I really think I'm just a snob when it comes to all of that stuff.
No, I know. Like
I don't tend to work on Temptation Island was a relationship based type show. I don't like those, and very much learned that during that. Again, I kind of fell into that. What happened was, when I got back, there was because I had that credit on my resume, I couldn't get hired on like scripted stuff and narrative and movies. People weren't hiring me because I had this.
Do you think it's because they didn't take you seriously, or it's like, oh no, she only does love relationship stuff, and we? Oh,
no, it had nothing to do with that. It had to do. All of my credits before that were like TV
Very-
movies or films, like big
Yeah.
films. Like I had Armageddon on my resume, and I had General's Daughter, which was a big
Yeah.
James Cromwell, John Travolta film from the 90s. No, it was simply because they didn't like reality TV. They felt they were usurping their jobs because it was made cheaper.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. That makes
What I
sense.
didn't
Gotcha.
think about, which I look back now and I'm like, you are so dumb. You could have just taken it off of your resume. But when you're young,
You want more things on because then
but
it's like,
every credit means something, right?
yeah.
And yeah, you're trying to fill up the page. And I don't know that I had a full page at that point. I'd only been working for a couple of years at that
Yeah.
point. And, so I didn't think to take it. But these days I will rearrange my resume 50 million ways, depending on what I am.
Yeah, what you're going into,
What I'm going
which is
into.
smart because you do want to have like those qualifications for that film
Mhm.
or for that play or whatever you want to,
Yeah.
be applying for and go, well, actually, no, these are the top things that make me
Mhm.
qualified for this job. And then,
Particularly.
then if somebody finds out and, along the way, oh, you did Temptation Island. Okay, well, whatever. Like,
Well,
but
yeah,
I'm,
I mean, that hasn't been on my resume for many years, but
Yeah.
I've got I've got
I've
a very
seen that. No.
your listeners can go on IMDb and they'll see a very long list of credits.
Yeah.
And there's probably some missing that are recent that I haven't even bothered to go on and make sure they're
Like,
on.
just don't scroll down to the last paragraph. Just
No,
don't
they
go
can.
there.
I don't care. I am not embarrassed by anything, and I learned a lot. There's a lot of skills I learned with doing unscripted
do?
and reality and stuff. And I travel. Those shows traveled me. I worked many seasons of The Amazing Race. I tended to work on more adventure-based unscripted competition shows. Sometimes that's a competition reality show, not a.
Did you ever do The Mole?
I did not do them all.
Oh, that was so good. And I'm like, why don't they make another one? I'm like, I need another one to come out. So can you get a hold of people for me and be like, we need
I don't have those contacts anymore. But no, so
Canadian Mole. Because there's like the Canadian Amazing Race and there's like the American Amazing Race. We need or the Canadian Temptation Island, which would be like, I don't know, something in BC, I guess.
Well, no, what they were doing. So so that's an interesting. So I believe there is a Canadian Amazing Race, right?
There is, yeah.
So what happened there was the American version, which was created by a man called Bertrand Van Munster and his wife Elise Dunganary. I don't know if it was the network or if they did. I can't remember Bert's complete thing, but basically the network will license out that property to Canada or I know there's an Asian version of The Amazing Race because I know several producers went and helped produce that too.
Cool.
There's an Australian version. So that's the network making money off of that IP, right? Yeah. Whereas Survivor and Big Brother were Scandinavian IP. Both of those shows started so reality TV, as you know it, competition-wise, started in Scandinavia. Mm-hmm. Reality TV in general, well, the oldest show was it was in the 70s. It was called The Loud Family. That was people really go back. That's the actual genesis of it. And you can look it up on, there's links of The Loud Family online that you can find on YouTube. And it was just a family in California that agreed to have cameras in their house. But really what people it was real world, the real world.
Yeah.
And then they had a little competition show called Road Rules or something like that. But in Scandinavia, they did, I think it was called Swiss Family Robinson was the progenitor of Survivor. And then they had Big Brother, which is the same here, but then became much bigger once the U.S. and U.S.ified
got into it. Yeah.
Made it into the supersized burger that we all know. Yeah. Temptation Island and The Amazing Race were two properties that were early on that were American-based IP. Which, is interesting to me. But all of those, Big Brother, Survivor, The Amazing Race, and Temptation Island
Yeah.
would Temptation Island, I don't know if Temptation Island would be a competition reality show or not, but Big Brother.
Don't they have little challenges on it?
Well, there was dating
But it's
things.
not.
It was you're picking dates. I don't remember if there was a monetary fund at the end of it. I really don't.
There's another.
But there's a bunch of dating stuff that has different things. But
Yeah.
you know, and then we also had Blind Date, and we had the bus thing. I think it was 5. I can't remember. There was a bunch of dating things in the
Yeah. It was like a
90s
surge of it, and then
stuff. And
Yeah.
MTV had a whole slew of shows as well that were unscripted. And all of them have varying degrees of completely unscripted, and some have soft scripting, and some are, especially the dating shows, were fairly manipulated in certain ways, you know, whether it's situations people were put in or the people they put them with were very much done with producers knowing kind of something is going to happen.
Yeah.
Right? Now, with the Amazing Race, it's probably the realest of all of the unscripted competition shows. It really is about, here's your clue, go find this place.
Go find it. Yeah.
And because travel and the person you chose to travel with are enough stressors to get what you get with story. They just are. There's no like manipulation by anyone, really. And especially in the early days, you know, now it's probably a little more, when it comes to the mechanics of getting it made, there's probably a lot of things in place that make it a little easier on the crew than when I was doing it early on. So I worked on The Amazing Race from season 3 through 13. So I did 11 seasons. I have an Emmy for producing from it. When I started, I was what's called a pit stop field producer. So I produced the pit starts and the pit stops. So the finish lines, the thing that was like
You must go back. And
well, that's only
you have to spend 2 hours in this thing.
But it was with Phil, you know, welcoming the teams in and stuff. And then I took care of the teams and the crews on our downtime. On that show, if you're not familiar, you're in general told that they're down for 12 hours. Really, there was, in my days, I don't know what it's like now. In my days, you were either down 12 hours or 36. And the 36-hour ones, although the teams thought it was us giving them a break so they could rest for 36 hours, it had nothing to do with them. It had to do with getting personnel to the next continent and in the next areas where
get everything set up and
getting stuff set up. So I did that from season 3 through 7, and then I was promoted, and I was what's called a host producer, although I was smart enough to tell them I only wanted a producer credit, because if you have anything in front of producer like that that's not senior or supervising, those 2 words count, but anything else. So if anyone's out there listening to this and you're a producer and you want to, and you're on a show that you think is going to get nominated for an Emmy, don't let them put a word like host in front of producer, because then the Academy won't let them put your name on the list.
But for myself, I'm like a radio TV host.
But you're not under the Emmys.
Okay, but if I become, when I'm in the Emmys in like 5 years,
if you've
how
got
would you rewrite that? Because I produce my TV, these are TV shows. Technically,
you would give yourself a producer or supervising producer credit.
Okay.
And then you would also give yourself host credit. Those are 2.
Okay, so there's 2 separate.
Yeah. And if you write the stuff, you're a writer too, whatever, right?
Yeah.
You created it, so you've got a created by credit as well.
Okay.
Now on your, like, if you're here writing your name and you want your titles, you would go producer / host / writer. That's how I would do that.
Yeah.
But
I do that on my emails. So there's that.
Yes, exactly. if you want people to know you're like on my signature, it says writer, director, producer.
Yeah.
Right. So, but for the Television Academy in the US, I do not know what it's like in Canada, because I know that you have your version of the Emmys and your version of the Oscars.
Yeah.
And England has the BAFTAs and whatever their version of, which is their version of
Juno Awards,
Oscars. I don't know what their version of the Emmys might be. But if you've been nominated for an Emmy in the US, the show puts in the people. The show. So the way it works is the production company sends the episode of their show that they want the Academy to look at, to consider for nomination.
Right.
Once they come back and say you've been nominated, then the production company then with the network, because the network has to okay these names too. Yeah. They send in the list of names that's under those nominations. So under cinematography, they'd send in all the camera people that worked on it. For best sound design, it'd be the sound people, right? For best show, it's the producers. Mm-hmm. And you have to have worked on, to get on that list, you have to have done significant enough work that affects both the field and the post work of that show in reality competition.
Nice.
Credit, right?
Okay.
And because I was the host producer, but really just had a producer, like I told them to take host off of it.
Yeah.
I was writing the clues and the clue copy, and I was producing Phil out on the road, which meant I was basically writing the show from season 8 through 13.
Wow.
And which meant that the work I did also transcended into post, because they were cutting the stuff I wrote and the stuff, right? So it meant I knew that once I got a straight up producer credit, and I was doing that I would qualify at some point. The race has so many producers that not all of them make that list every year.
Oh, okay.
So they would round robin certain people, so that everybody would get a chance.
Oh, okay.
And so one year I got my chance, and so I have an Emmy, and you only need one, even though I should have actually been on the list 4 times, but it's okay.
All of them should have been on the list for all the times.
No,
who do I talk to?
But anyway,
let's go get you some.
But you only need one to say you're an Emmy-winning producer, so it's okay. Emmys do not get you jobs. They
look nice on your mantle.
It's a wonderful, fantastic night. It's wonderful to be recognized by your peers. It does sometimes get you a meeting for something that you're trying to pitch. Okay. But really, if you're in this business of making television or film simply because you want an award like that, I would ask you to sit back down and rethink why you're making it, because that will not be sustainable to keep you. It is too hard, and it's too unreliable. I have been unemployed since December, and we are talking in June. Yeah.
And that's it. It's like you got to have that love and that passion for what you do. And then as soon as I think that fakeness, you can just kind of see someone's intention going into things, and it's okay, you're going to show your passion, whether you have to be running and getting coffee, or you're writing, or you're doing something even when you were 8 or 9 and you're on the set, because you just want to be there and see it and take it all in, because it's a love, right? And you'll do anything. You're I'll get Hershey's Kisses and I'll just bribe everyone just to be there, not to meet the stars, but just to be on set and to learn and see what's going on. Not that's even my passion with doing radio. It's it's such a passion. I love it. And there's a bonus if I get a big name coming on or whatever, but it's I'm consistently learning and there's more things going on, but it's not just me. It's now becoming the audience. The audience gets involved and they get to meet my guests in a certain way and learn their lifestyle and what's going on and learn something new and what a grip is, or maybe, they should be buying more Hershey's Kisses to be going on movie sets, whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever little tidbits they're learning. And that's the passion and the love of it. And so, yeah, if like someone came on and they didn't want to do that, you could just see they wouldn't be sitting here having a conversation that's almost an hour and going, okay, we haven't even touched upon the other stuff I wanted to get to. So this may end up being a 2-part interview. Who knows? But anyway, I love it. Right.
Sure. Yeah.
Whatever happens. So, continue, please continue.
But yeah, I mean, it's a,
Yeah.
The minute I walked onto that set when I was 9, I felt home.
Yeah.
And that is how I feel every time I walk on set, period.
Yeah.
It is like, even if friends are helping, I mean, I could give you numbers of friends of mine where they called out going, I need a house to film something. And I'll be like, oh, you can come over Thursday or whatever it is that they needed, right? And I have one of my best, like, I love her to death. Her name's Danny. She's getting ready to film something else, but she's a very talented actress. And we hadn't met. She posted on a Facebook group, I was a female film, and she was like, I need a house, whatever, it fell through. And I'm like, oh, here's my house. Would this work? Yeah. And she came by, and I just, like, the energy they brought to film their short film in my house and in the backyard and wherever they were doing, I just loved it. That energy is home to me. Just creating something, just getting together with your friends. Even when I'm making a reel for my social media, if it's something really creative and I'm editing it, it's my home.
Yeah.
Right. And, although I ended up on this trajectory and this path of unscripted, which was not where I saw my life when I was 8, I wouldn't change a second of it. Yeah. Because I got to travel. I've been to every continent. I worked on a show called Whale Wars for a season. I don't know if you know that show. It's the one that followed the sea shepherd down to the Southern Sea or the Southern Ocean. And, I was on a boat for 98 days.
Wow.
We didn't see land because we were on the boat that had extra fuel tanks. And that's longer than navies send their naval crews out. They have to come back every 30 days to land or something. Yeah. But we were chasing.
That might be by law too, or something.
I don't know. It depends on the country and the Navy. I just know when we got back to Tasmania, because that's where the boats had left out of and we came back to. The Australian Navy, some of them had met us and they're like, you were out to sea longer than we go out to sea. Like it's
like, and
no, just kidding. But I value all of that stuff because I also in post, because I'm a producer who can work both in the field and in post. And in unscripted, especially the more doc stuff that you do, the more documentary stuff you do, you are literally writing with the footage or the interviews you got. So you leave with an outline and an idea of what you think is going to happen or what you're trying to get, right? Mm-hmm. But you really, when you're in post, you're bound by what you got.
Yeah.
And so, I've watched thousands of hours of interviews. I've, had to come up and break story with things when we didn't think we had anything, or you found a piece of audio, but they weren't filming. And how do you use creative B-roll to make that work, right? Because it's the one thing you need. And the truth is, and I need all filmmakers out there to listen, audio is more important than video often. Do not think, I don't care what DP is telling you, that the pretty picture is the most important thing. If the audio person was rolling when a fight happened, but your director of photography was not, you can still use that audio and cut something together and use it. If the audio person was not rolling and your director of photography was, all you have is B-roll of a fight, which you most likely cannot include because there's no way to I mean, maybe you could get creative with an interview bite, but whoever's giving you notes is going to be like, who didn't get the audio, right?
Yeah.
So audio is so, so, so important. And the quality of the audio is so important. Don't shirk on that. Don't shortchange yourself if you're making a short film or a movie or you're working on a TV show. But anyway, but I did, so like in 2013-ish, not ish, in 2013, my mom, so my parents were 42 and 46 when they had me. So my entire life, I thought my parents were going to die because they were so older than me. No, it's okay.
They're so old. Yeah.
But they made it, to my high school graduation, my college graduation. They were alive when I won my Emmy. So that was all nice. But in 2013, my mom passed away. Yeah. And after that, a couple months after that, I realized, I kind of woke up one day and 8-year-old Cris was yelling at me going, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "What are you talking about?" And they're like, "Well, didn't you move here to make a movie and to write?" And so immediately I bought a tiny camera, like a used, gently used Blackmagic Pocket Cam, the very first one they made, and bought a little Metabones thing so I could use cinema glass because it's the lens more than the camera. Yeah. And wrote my first short film and co-directed it. And then that went to Cannes, to the short film corner. So that was my first, so to get into the short film corner, it's really just about paying the submission fee.
Yeah.
Making sure that your film is of a certain quality.
Caliber. Yeah.
What you get for doing that, for $60 or whatever it is now, you get a ticket to go to the Cannes Film Festival and to go to the films and to experience it. Yeah. Are you in competition? No. But you're there and you're meeting people and you're networking and you're going to see it, right? And so I did. I went to the Cannes Film Festival and it was amazing in 2016. I have friends who I know who are like, "Oh, my short was at Cannes," and they don't tell you the rest of it, and they mean they're in the short film corner. Is it wrong? Is it right? Whatever BS, faking it through things is a part of film and art sometimes.
But like now it's like you can Google everything and see if they actually were there or this or that.
Yeah, you can. If you were in competition or not. But it was still an honor and it was still great. And I still, it was if you put yourself in those environments at all, it's going to feed you to be around everyone else who's this is what they want to do. Right. And so, and then I wrote my next script and it was, it's called Bossa Nova, and you can find it on my website, which I'm sure will be in the show notes and stuff. And it's a clown. It's about a clown who's a gigolo, and it's basically a revenge clown Western is how I'd call it, kind of genre wise. But it's a comedy, and, I won a couple awards with that, and it didn't get into any of the big festivals, but it went around the festival circuit. And then I shot a third one, which was called It's Big, which is a awkward conversation between two female friends, and that's all I'll tell you.
Okay.
It's just under 3 minutes, so it's only like two. It's a micro short, and
cute. Yeah,
that again won several awards and went around different festivals.
Oh, nice.
And then a friend kind of sat me down. He's like, you need to write. You can either keep doing shorts or,
do a feature.
Yeah, write the feature that you plan to direct.
Yeah.
And I had written several features when I moved to LA. Most of them were in the sci-fi kind of, because that's kind of where my head was in my 20s, mid 20s and early 30s. What was interesting was, as I was kind of introducing myself to this journey, comedy and Black comedy were what was coming out of me. And it makes sense because I was in love with I was in love with science fiction and comedy. I was a huge Steve Martin, Richard Pryor, like all of that stuff, SNL, like that was comedy, like back in the day when comedy specials were rare. We'd come up to the US for vacation, and the thing that the hotel room had was HBO. And it was very hard for my parents to get me out of the hotel room because I would sit and I would take we were here from this date to this date, and I would take because it was in the room, right? The schedule for their HBO, and I'd go, oh, so this movie's playing here and this one in here, and I would just sit and watch movies all day. And there was in those days, I think HBO would come out with a comedy special every once in a while, or somebody else would, and so I'd watch those, right? So I was writing comedy now instead of science fiction, which kind of cracked me up. But that same friend, a couple months later, he was a showrunner that I worked for often, and we were on a true crime show. And I came into his office to say something, like for some reason. He goes, hey, and as friends do, he's like, so how's your dating life? And I'm like, oh, I'm done. I don't feel like dating anymore. And I was in my late 40s at the time. And he laughed, and I said, what? And he goes, well, there's your film, right? And I go, what are you talking about? And he goes, well, it'd be funny if it was this person who's, done with dating, but her friends keep trying to set her up or something. And
right.
I go, like that was the kernel of it. But I knew there was something more that I'm like.
It's like a spinoff of Temptation Island. That's all.
Kind of, but not really. But so in my evolution, when I was younger, in my say, 9 to 15 or whatever, or actually into my 20s, I didn't care about dating or relationships. Did I have crushes on Harrison Ford and Michael Douglas, who
didn't at that time?
They were on my wall. Yes.
Well, mine was more Tom Cruise, but anyway.
But you're 4 years younger than me, so Tom Cruise is okay. He was not my he's had some very good performances, but he was not on my wall. And actually Michael Douglas was more, he was in Romancing the Stone, which was one of my favorite rom-com films, but he was also a producer, which I really looked up to him for, which is really odd for a 14-year-old to be like, oh, he's a producer, right? I loved his, like how he got One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest made. That was his first film that he produced, and stuff. But I was so focused in what I wanted to do that was not a thing for me. And to the point where, I'm sure I could give you a list of friends from college and grad school who'd be like, oh yeah, there was somebody who used to give her a ride home every day for months, and she never picked up that they had a crush on her.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm like, well, they never fucking asked me out either.
There has to be a kind of a,
like
an interaction of like, hey, you want to go out?
Sure.
Okay.
Admittedly, I don't know that I would have said yes. I probably would have been scared and said, I don't know, because I didn't quite. It wasn't,
you didn't pick up on the social cues of them.
It wasn't where my brain was. And I am neurospicy. I am, my ADHD was officially diagnosed last summer. You said you had an episode on menopause. I'm very open about it. I'm in menopause. I had a very scary moment at the end of 2022, which is the reason I wasn't dropping episodes of my podcast after that. I was on a job in post, and I was super foggy in my brain. I couldn't figure out what was going on. I couldn't focus on anything long enough to do my job, which is not good in post. and I was working for a friend, so I was letting a friend down on top of everything else. And I let go of everything that brought me joy, which was working towards getting my feature film made. And my podcast was about that. And I do everything on my own. I do the edit, I do everything. But I stopped doing the edit and dropping it because I thought I had to focus. And I went into severe burnout and stress, which precipitated a stroke I had in this eye.
Wow.
And so I was seeing double because my right eye wasn't moving to the left. It was a tiny capillary. It is completely healed as of this December, which I'm very proud of myself. And I have learned coping mechanisms and things, and I'm, and ways to meditate and to take care of myself. So I don't get to that point. And I'm still struggling to find the balance of how to reboot my podcast and the edit with, work and the stressors of just life in Los Angeles at the moment, making my film. But I'll figure it out. And I think it's going to be 2 a month instead of weekly and some other stuff that I'm working on. But the reason I got on that is, we have to take care of ourselves as creatives, but we also kind of push ourselves, but what happened was, and I didn't know this was what was happening, is there is a connection between estrogen and menopause. And ADHD. And there's been a lot of studies recently, because as we all know, most studies are done on men, and we're kind of, second class, whatever, as women in medical studies. But when you don't, it's estrogen that makes ADHD present differently in women. And so, although I always knew I kind of was ADHD because it runs in my family, it was my superpower at the time, right? It presented differently, and I learned coping mechanisms since I was a kid to deal with the quirkiness of how it made me present, right? But it also that I could do things and whatever, and be fast and focused on things and whatever. Well, when my estrogen dropped completely and was gone, my ADHD wreaked havoc on my brain. And I didn't know that's what was happening.
Oh, wow.
And I didn't know that was what was happening until summer of 2024, basically.
Wow.
At the beginning. So I signed up for a clinical trial at a certain point that wanted adults who knew they had ADHD but had never taken medication. And so I went in, and within 3 meetings, because I went in once a week, and they were paying $100. And it was one of my I'm going to be out of work, and at least I'll get $100 a week to buy food. That was why I signed up for it. But it turned out to be one of the best things, because the psychiatrist who was leading it, because I looked at him, I go, so do I have it? And he goes, oh no, you definitely have it. And he goes, do you think the pill you're taking, because it was a double blind, is working? And I go, do you think it's working? I go, because I don't think. I'm like every week my answers were the same, and I wasn't.
Nothing was changing. Yeah.
And he was like, I go, because if it isn't the placebo, then they need to rework their, which I was making him laugh. Like, that's just
yeah. You're like, this may or may not be the placebo, but I don't think it is, because
but when that ended, because it was a few months of it, he said, we can do it over the phone. Don't worry about it, because he was based out of Orange County.
That's a bit of a drive. Yeah.
But he, we did a couple of. He goes, no, just call me when it was my last thing, and he put me on Adderall first, but Ritalin's better. And so we found the right medication for me. And I actually only have to take 1 pill. I don't have to take both. I just need my brain to be kicked into gear for the first part of the day, and then I'm pretty good. And if I'm on a show where I'm filming and I know I'm going to be doing 3 interviews and it's going to be really tough on my brain, then I take the 2 doses. But it was a revelation once I started. I'm like, oh my God, this is what was going on, right? But I was completely confused. And we need to, as women, we need to talk about that more, there's a myriad of things, and because I'd had the stroke, I didn't get hormone replacement therapy. So I've been white knuckling all of it.
Okay. Wow.
Right. Wow. And so anyway, all that to say, let's take care of ourselves and each other, and
Yeah.
and find meditation's a wonderful thing. Please find your way to it.
Yeah.
It will help you, even if you're in perimenopause. I would suggest it. If you're in, there haven't been enough studies. If you're listening to this and you want to ask me about that, find me on Instagram and DM me. I'm open book about all of it.
Yeah.
That's one of the things we need to help and support each other as.
Oh,
but
absolutely. Yeah. I don't think there's enough information. Yeah.
During this journey of me trying to, so in 2019, I wrote the script.
Yeah.
That we were talking about, and just wait, because I went on a side quest.
Yeah.
So in my 30s, I kind of sat down and I was like, well, maybe there is something wrong with me. Maybe I am supposed to try to date and come, because we're told as women that that's a thing we're supposed to do. And so, friends of mine taught me, because I hadn't been wearing makeup, because I don't wear makeup. I still don't. I hate it.
I wear very little, if nothing.
I always, when I was younger, felt like I was being asked to wear a mask. And I know that some women like that that armor, that feeling, whatever. And this is no judgment. Like, if that's, or if you're wearing it because it makes you feel good, fucking great. But if you're putting it on
to please other people, and
because the patriarchy with a big P, which is what we've all been living under for hundreds of years, told you that you should have it on. Yeah. I'm here to tell you don't need permission to stop wearing it.
Yeah.
You do need it. I'm giving you that permission.
I have moments where I'm like, okay, maybe I'll wear it here and there, or if it's a night out, or I went to an event, a little while ago and I wore it and things like that. It's just, or like I was doing a photo shoot, something, whatever. But for me, it's like, I'm not a daily wearer of it. Like, it's just too much. I think maybe back in high school I did, because I was like trying to please the boys. But it's like, it's like, I don't know. To me, it's like, if you need to wear it to please other people, you need to please yourself first, and be happy with who you are and what you look like, and really own yourself, because that's really the confidence is what needs to shine through, not the makeup to do that. Yeah, there's a couple days where I'm like, I look like hell, and I'm like, I should maybe do something. But I'm like, or like a pimple or something, whatever. And I'm like, oh, this is really going to show up here. And I'm like, I want people to look at my guest, not at this on my face.
Which is funny, because people aren't looking at that unless you're
pointing it out. Yeah. Hey, did you guys see this really big zit I have down here over here? And you're like, what? No, exactly.
But then again, both of us, did you just turn 50, or you're going to be 50?
Going to be.
You don't look it.
No. Because I don't. Makeup is a
54?
huge thing. Makeup will age you.
Yeah. Do I look?
Same with your diet, exercise, all that, stress.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, no.
Yeah. People are always like, you're 54. And I'm like, yeah.
Yeah. Like, no, I'm actually just 20, but thanks.
So I basically pretzeled myself into this thing, and yes, I wore a very nice dress to the Emmys. The one and only vanity thing I ever did was save up the $5,000 that I needed to do LASIK, because I wore glasses at the time.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to wear glasses on the red carpet. And I know that there's a thing called contact lenses. I don't, and I could never stick my finger.
I don't want to poke in my eyes either. No thanks.
So I was wearing glasses. So I had LASIK, which was this wonderful, beautiful thing, because I didn't grow up with glasses. I started wearing glasses in college. So I still had a memory of not needing them, right, in my youth. But I do wear them now, mainly for driving and when I'm walking, if I need to see, if I need to read street signs. So it does wear off. If you're thinking of getting LASIK, it's not the amount of people are like, oh, it's not permanent. No, your eyes will still age. But it lasted for about 12 years. And it wasn't until I went in to figure out what was wrong with my eye when I had the stroke that I found out that my LASIK had worn off, and I was very upset. But anyway.
Okay, can you just touch up this one eye? That'd be great. Thanks.
It's not enough that I had the stroke. Now I need to wear glasses.
What's going on?
But and I had someone come and do my makeup, and yes, I clean up very nice, and I will it's just on a daily basis.
Too much.
I like my face. I don't need it,
Yeah.
But I was pretzeling myself and putting myself, if I go on a date with someone and then they start texting me more than once every 2 years, I think they're acting like a 16-year-old girl, and I can't handle it. It's just not me.
Yeah.
I cannot do it. I like being on my own, and it's my happy place. Yeah. And that is something that the patriarchy has demonized for women to think.
Yeah.
We are conditioned.
Well, I think we need to be comfortable on our own as well to really know who we are in order to go into a relationship, I think.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. Like, my podcast is called Blissful Spinster, and I also have a community that I'm trying to get going. But again, I've got too many things, balls, and like, when do I make this real, and when do I do this, and when do I edit my podcast? I will figure it out at some point, but
it'll fall into place.
Both of these things kind of came about from me even just writing the script, because the script is a very personal story. Is it a rom-com? Are there ridiculous situations in it? Yes. 70% of it, though, is conversations or is inspired by conversations and things that have happened to me, and then it's embellished because you're making a movie and you need to entertain people.
Yeah.
But my heart is on every page of that script, and it's called The Lone Girl. And again, it's a coming of middle-age story wrapped in an unromantic comedy. So the real journey that Sam, the lead character, the main character, is taking is when you come in and you meet her within the first few pages, she's like skateboarding in the opening scene, because I skateboard. And yes, I'm 54 and I still skateboard on my longboard. But she's doing a morning skate, and you can see without a doubt she's happy. Thing is, she doesn't know it. So pretty immediately you see the things of the world coming in and kind of, pulling at that happiness, whether it's looking in the mirror and seeing the chin hairs. And this is within the first 5 minutes of my film, you're watching a woman in her early 50s, yanking out chin hairs, because it's something we all deal with. And I think we need to see more of that. Right. But why do we think we need to do that? It's something that we all.
I get like the odd one here, and I'm just like,
to me, it bugs me, but I really wish, but it is out of some need that we're not supposed to have hair on our face. When
we're mammals, there's going to be hair absolutely everywhere.
But we're made to feel like if we don't take care of that, we're somehow
a woolly mammoth.
But and then she gets whatever it is, right? And so the real journey is that she goes on is figuring out that she was happy all along. Yeah. And that being single was her happy place, which is the exact journey that I went on. And it sounds small, but it is huge for a woman.
Yeah.
To go on that journey and figure that out, because we are socialized from the first Disney film that's put in for us to look at, that our happiness is exterior to ourselves, that it is given to us by a partner that chooses us. And that somehow being in a relationship, even if it's a toxic relationship, you are given more weight in society by being in a relationship than by being single.
Well, you're also like almost like there's like always like the two parts to the toxic one, because I was in a toxic relationship, and it's like there's like some part of society saying, no, you need to stay, and kids are involved, whatever, you need to be there, and maybe go for counseling, this, that, whatever. And it's like, well, not until someone realizes it, or you're living in their shoes, you realize like, you at some point can't function as a
Mhm.
human and or take care of other people. So, and then there's other people that are telling you on another side, no, leave, and take everything and run. And it's like, it's such a back and forth thing. Like, what are we supposed to be doing? What's, so society is like one side, and then maybe you're hearing from another side. Like, it's
Mhm.
such a torn process. And it's
Well,
like,
yeah,
you
it's,
lose yourself in between it because you're like, well, what should I be doing?
you don't
You
know.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, and I don't know if this is part of your story, but I do know, oddly enough,
Yeah.
so I work in true crime, and I have for the last, let's see, 6-7 years. I don't know. I think I started, the first one I worked on was, I think, 2018.
Yeah.
And the amount of interviews I've done when the story we are dealing with happens to be a woman who stayed too long, right?
Yeah.
Because not all of the stories are that, but when it's that,
Yeah.
and I am not saying that this happens all the time, but it happens more than it doesn't. That somebody, whether it's a friend or a family member that I am interviewing, says something to the effect of, and this is never the main reason, okay? But it is something that feeds into the reason of why they stayed too long.
Yeah.
Right? They say something like they were afraid to be seen as single, or something like that they didn't want to lose that status. How?
Yeah. And or a cultural, like mine was a bit religion as well.
Yeah,
Like,
and religion has that same whatever. You're supposed to be,
yeah.
and
When
you're
you
supposed
start
to make it
dating, you
work
need
no
to
matter
be
what it
getting
is.
married. Yeah. Yeah.
But the fact that we have made simply being single so toxic that a woman stays too
In a
long,
toxic
that I showed
relationship.
up
Yeah.
to interview their family about them.
Yeah.
It's horrible. And we really need to destigmatize that, because the truth is, men, women, whatever, I would contend we all have a little bit of a spinster in us, no matter who you are. And whether the reason I use the word spinster and I own it is because I want to reclaim it and I want to redefine it.
Yeah.
To me, a spinster is an artist of joy. We take all of our experiences and our relationships and our, independence and our skills and whatever it is we're doing, and we spin that into joy that we share with the world.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what I define spinsterhood as. I also think you can be a spinster for a moment while you're learning yourself, while you're getting to know yourself, and you're getting back in touch with your happiness, which actually comes from you. It is not external, like we're taught.
Yeah.
And once you learn that and you become a master of your own happiness, you will show up in relationships in a much more fulfilled and whole way. Yeah. And you won't rely on the other person for your happiness, right? Yeah. Which can also be part of the reason relationships are in disarray, because you're asking of someone something that they can't really actually give you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. And
there's also an aspect too that each individual person has traumas that they need to heal from growing up. And then you can't really, you're going to bring probably a little bit of that aspect into a relationship, but you need to be consistently working on that and healing yourself. And the other person needs to know, like, I need to know, okay, well, my partner is also working on themselves, and you have to get that grace period and go, well, obviously somebody else that's working on themselves isn't supposed to provide you a happiness. Yeah. If they're also going through trauma and trying to heal from that, like, how is that possible? It's not, right? Yeah. So if you're both working on yourself, you're both healing, and you're both like finding your inner joy and your inner peace and who you really are.
Share with each other. It's to share. It's not to provide.
Yeah.
But so, you know, my film's a full-on comedy. There are ups and downs.
Yeah.
But at its heart, there are some of these, you know, current things running, or currents, you know, of thought processes. The comedy is such a great teacher. It's more about, to me, this movie is really for anyone who's felt othered by these boxes that the patriarchy with a big P. I'm not talking about, you know, I'm talking about the overarching thing that whether we're in India, Mexico, America, Canada, Europe, we're all living under this thing. Unless you come to me and you tell me you grew up under a matriarchy, you've been affected by this belief system.
Oh yeah.
And also, you know, how many hundreds of years of books and you know, the reason some rom-coms are toxic is because they're written from the point of view of the patriarchy. Yeah. You know, so we all love them, but we can also dissect them.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and we need, you know, we need more.
It's social conditioning, which,
we need these stories more from the woman's point of view, you know, and, but anyway, so this, you know, to me, you know, it's really, when you get personal with the story and specific, it becomes universal. Yeah. It's this thing that doesn't sound like it's possible, but it is. The more vulnerable you are with the story you're telling, the more it's going to connect with the audience. Yeah. Vulnerability and empathy are strengths. They're not weaknesses. And in this world today, you're going to hear the reverse. That is incorrect and untrue. And I want anyone who's listening, think of the movies that have touched you the most, that have made you laugh the hardest, that have made you cry the hardest. And I defy you to tell me that they weren't something that
was vulnerable.
That came from a place of vulnerability.
Yeah. I tell my guests when they come on, like, we always at some point hit a vulnerable state in the interviews. And it's like, no, like, this is what everyone's here for, is to know, like, even the biggest, highest celebrity, biggest name that are on my show, it's like, no, like, they have faults, they're vulnerable, they go through things too, even though they may be like Tom Hanks or whatever, but it's like, they're just people too, and they go through things, and it's like, that's what we learn from, and that's what we look up to, is that, you know, it's not, oh, you're a big star and you got all these awards. Yeah, that's great, but what are they teaching us? What do they have to learn? Like, what are we connecting to, right?
Well, especially with you're bringing up actors. Actors, their job is to be a conduit for vulnerability. Yeah. That is, like, they can have all the awards they want, that you see. You can the you know, the fodder you see in the news or social media that humanizes them. The truth is, they are just a human being. They are actors. I have the biggest respect for and love for, and they are the most important thing when you are casting a film. One of the biggest, so you need a good script, a good story, but a well-written script, and you need to cast it right.
So if you're the alone girl, if that's you, who do you want to play you?
Well, I already cast her, but I can't really.
That's okay. Don't have to disclose it. But you have somebody.
I do. But it's somebody who is of mixed race background. So her father was Black and her mother was white. And I did that very specifically because I'm telling every woman's story, not every white woman's story.
Yeah, no, that's important. Actually, that's a good thing to cast, is somebody that's not just a regular person, right? Like, if they've got more underlying things that is like, oh, well, I'm not just an everyday.
Well, I've also someone, who's
because it's more culture deep, like it's.
Well, that's the thing, though, is the story I'm telling and the way I've written it, and and I know this because I've had table reads, because I've been invited into a classroom with an old theater professor of mine who now teaches at SUNY New Paltz, and she was teaching script analysis and asked me if she could have her class read it, and then I taught her the class. I've had like any number of things and talked about it on my podcast and had reaction to this all. And it's, you know, I've even had in that class, one of her students was a 19-year-old trans man. And so there was a student who asked who my audience was.
Yeah.
And I always so the entire like cast of the lead roles. I mean, it's her story, and she's surrounded by friends, so it feels like an ensemble, but it's really her story.
Right. Yeah.
But all of her friends, they're all in their late 40s and early 50s.
Okay.
And the reason I did that and put her in that age bracket is because we don't get stories told about us as women in that age range.
Right.
And women that are in their 50s and a little older or much older, we need to start seeing stories about ourselves where we see ourselves as flawed and complicated and real. But we also need stories like that of women in our age group, for younger women to be able to see that the journey is possible.
Yeah.
I've had people,
and that the journey's coming up for them too.
Yeah. But I've had people go, you know, like I had a friend who read it and absolutely loved it. And then she was telling her daughter, who happens to be an actress and a very talented actress. And then her daughter said, why didn't she make it for 30-year-olds? She should make it. And I said, do you want to know the first people who reached out to me when I started talking about this on my podcast or whatever? It was women in their early to mid 30s telling me thank you.
Yeah.
Because I am showing them that there is a path forward. Because some of those women are like, you know, I always thought there was something wrong with me because I didn't actually want to be in a relationship. And I'm like, no, there is nothing. And that's the reverse coin, right? There's the women who think single is whatever.
Or they think that they're not enough for somebody as well. And
But when we don't want the thing that we're being told we're supposed to want.
Yeah. Something's wrong with us.
It leads to us, because we're women, to think there's something wrong with us.
There's always something wrong with us, though.
We're not enough, but we are.
Yeah.
And you are enough whether you want to be in a relationship or not.
I think we're more than enough. Come on, let's put it out there.
So it's also for younger women to see themselves.
Yeah.
Also, right? But it's also for anyone, like if you're a trans man and you grew up as a woman first, you were getting all of that. Like if you were misgendered and, you know, for 16, 17 years before you transitioned, you were getting all the same messaging. You also understand this story. On the reverse side, and I have a trans niece who transitioned in her 30s, and it's always fun to watch that, because you're watching somebody in their 30s go through the same stuff we did when we were teens. And then at some point, like 5 years later, you see them kind of settle into their actual style and whatever. You know what I'm saying? You know, like it just, you know.
Okay.
We all
I haven't personally witnessed, but I could imagine.
we all went through our tube top, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
You know, but they're doing it at 30 and whatever, because they've just gotten boobs, right?
Right.
Awesome. More power to you. But they are running smack dab into what it actually means to be a woman in this society.
Yeah. Oh man. Oh.
And they also understand in a very visceral, very personal way what they lost, to a certain extent, the status they lost as a man, or being perceived as a man when they weren't, but they were perceived as a man, right?
Oh my goodness, so much.
So this story very much, they will, and so I'm in this class and I say all of this, And I'm always very open because I love the world is beautiful because of all the colors in the tapestry.
Right.
Right. We need to protect the most vulnerable in our society, whether that's our trans brothers and sisters, our non-binary, folk, or the immigrants right now that are on the streets of LA that are under attack right now that I'm so worried about, But so I talk about this, I say that answer, and there's a little hand in the Zoom thing, and I call on it, and it goes, "Hi, my name's Barclay, and I'm a 19-year-old trans man." And I go, "Hi, nice to meet you, Barclay." And he goes, "I was reading your script last night, and I kept trying to figure out why I was relating to a 47-year-old woman, because in the script it says 47. The actress I've cast is a little older, so I may change. I'm not sure. I have to figure that out.
Okay, yeah.
But she's in her early 50s. But I think she can play 47. It's okay." Barclay's like, "I'm trying to figure it out. And then I'm listening to your answer just now, and I realize you're completely right. I was absorbing before my transition. I was, all of that stuff was targeted and absorbing it." Yeah. And it was like this revelation they were having. And I cried. I was like, this is why I wrote the script. Like, does success to me mean getting it into Sundance? It gets a theatrical run and then somehow is on the awards, whatever, and it's a nomination to an independent film award or whatever. Sure. I would love that. I'm not going to sit here and tell you and lie to you that would not be the most amazing thing in the world.
Yeah.
But to me, actual success is hearing that person tell me that.
Yeah.
It's knowing
the message that got through,
touched someone and made them feel seen. Yeah. And that's why we're artists.
Yeah.
That's when you're an independent filmmaker who's a writer director, you better love and know that story you are writing needs to get out there, because the first version of the script, the first draft, was written February, like over 6 weeks in February and March of 2019.
Yeah.
And I am in draft 29 because it's in the rewrites. It's in the refinement. The fifth draft of this script I did a table read with the help of a friend, but also I submitted it to the Austin Film Festival, which is a very prestigious screenwriting, because it's actually more of a conference and a screenplay competition.
Okay.
Is really known as the film festival itself. It made it into 3 categories of the semifinal rounds of the Austin Film Festival. First competition I ever entered. I entered it for validation of the script, for vetting. Yeah. I do not have an agent. So you have to be very strategic if you're going to get your thing made. When they called me to tell me I didn't make it into the finals, because they were a huge fan, the people that were in the screenwriting part of the competition.
Yeah.
When it goes to the finals, it goes out to actual producers and people.
Oh yeah, like they bid on it, and
not to bid on it, to send it to finals, and then who wins. It didn't make it into the finals of any of those 3 categories, and that was super rare, by the way. Screenplays make it into 2 categories, but not generally 3 at that high, I was told. But he called me to he goes, "I need to let you down." I go, what are you talking about? He goes, "Well, you didn't make it into the finals." And I go, "Oh, that's okay. I'm going to make my film anyway."
Yeah.
And he laughed, and he goes, "That's the best answer I've heard all day." And I go, "Oh, well, yeah, I can only imagine that most of the people who probably enter this hold that in some value because they're trying to get an agent, or they're trying, and I'm like, that's not why I put this in there." I go, "This was high enough for me to be able to write someone and go, this is how it made it," right? Yeah. But it also made it into the top 10% of the Nicholl Fellowship, which is the big competition that the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences does, which is the same people who do the Oscars. In 2020, and then I made the 25 Screenwriters to Watch list that the Austin Film Festival puts out every year in 2020. Now, both of those things happened in May of 2020. So we all know what we were doing in May of 2020. We were trying to survive a pandemic. So it's interesting. I've had all of these interesting challenges that every filmmaker who's been on this road with me over these same years, we all have these similar like little things. We've had these really odd challenges to have to kind of flow with and figure out how to go around or over. You've got to let obstacles guide you. That's something a producer I really respect.
Yeah.
His name's John Killick. He works with Spike Lee an awful lot. He says, let obstacles guide you. And so you have to, let that kind of thought. But I've had a producer attached here and there, a couple of them. They're not anymore. They're not as sneaky as I need them to be. They were clinging to the old way that movies get made a little too much. Hollywood, if you've heard any stories in the last year and a half, you know that it's the old ways of getting things made are falling apart. Yeah. They're crumbling in front of our eyes, especially when we live in Los Angeles, and we've had strikes and we've had all kinds of things, and AI is coming in and posing other challenges.
Oh, yeah.
But we can look at it as a thing to depress us, or we can look at it as an opportunity, which I choose to look at all of this as an opportunity to rebuild what it means to be an independent filmmaker and how independent filmmakers get their films made from the ground up with us at the center, the creative. And that's how I choose to think of it. With that, the reason we met in a group that's like a women entrepreneurs supporting other women. I do think that filmmakers, especially independent filmmakers, need to think of themselves as entrepreneurs. And I then have looked at my script and tried to figure out what are creative things I can do that are already held within my script that I can create that then become part of the world of the movie, which is where, this came from, which you can find on my website. This is a journal with a cat. This cat is, there's a cat character in the script. He doesn't look like this. Obviously he looks like a real cat. But this is a director cat, and the lead character is going to wear a sweatshirt with this. Yeah. And I aged the sweatshirt. I've got it waiting on the side.
That was so cute.
Half, and then I folded it up, and it's waiting for the lead character. So basically, if you buy one of these things, you're helping to make the film, and you're getting merch.
That's awesome.
And it's become so much bigger to me than just the film. Out of the name of my podcast, Blissful Spinster, with my entrepreneurial journey, this is a brand called Posman Prints with the cat stuff. And I think I was telling you earlier before you started recording that I kind of, when I launched it, just launched it as a cat brand without connecting it to the film, which in my storyteller brain, I was going to connect after, and it was going to be this really Easter egg. And what you learn as an entrepreneur is you need the stories first, and you connect everything back to the story. But in my journey, and once I got on my Ritalin, and once my brain was starting to work better, because I've got this, if you look at my social media and the website, all the color palettes, everything is connected to the film. It's all the color palette of the film. It's all my reels often are in the look of my film to a certain extent. What I realized was I'm the blissful spinster, and it's all connected to me because the stories comes out of me. And what I've done is I have manifested this version of Cris by starting on the journey of writing the script. Yeah. And that's what you're helping to get made if you choose to come on this journey with me. And I do want to start the Blissful Spinster community too, which would be a place for spinsters and rebels and anyone who's felt boxed out by patriarchy to come and just feel safe.
And that's just going to be like a Facebook group, or is it going to be in person? What do you want to do with that?
You can join, and that's on my website. And I don't have a Facebook group. I'm a little leery to start it's just too much. I have to. So I've got
it's on your website. What's your website that they can go to and join?
.com.
Okay.
And then what I have, I designed these daily affirmation cards, the Blissful Spinster daily affirmation cards, and I designed them to help you with your independence, your resilience, and your radical joy. All things we need right now, because especially if you're in the United States or in somewhere else that's a little oppressive at the moment, the way none of that takes root is by tapping into our radical joy and not letting them steal that from us, and to tap into community. And so, it's got things like, I trust in my resilience to overcome challenges and thrive. That's this one,
Hell yeah.
There's 45 of these. And after these will both help me stay sustainable, but help get the film made, because that's what I'm all about. And it'll appear in the film as well. So that's kind of the journey I've been on.
Yeah.
And
I've so much.
Awful lot. So
no, I think like these are the stories that we tell, and it's not a story, it's a life story. This is your biography basically. And you're just saying, chase after your passions, chase after your dreams, and there's a message out there for somebody who's listening. There's always somebody that just needs to hear it. And you need to go, okay, well, like, just be yourself as well. Like, don't, your society says one thing, religions say one thing, and parents are telling you one thing, and you're like, who do you listen to? Yourself. Listen here. This is you first. I'm not like all like, oh, you, like, don't be selfish, but at the same time, as they say, fill up your cup first, because if you don't, you can't pour into other people's cups, and you have to know yourself first in order to, like, again, be a parent, be in a relationship, whatever, and go, be happy with you, because you're with yourself forever. Like, that's it. No one else is you. So there's that. And to be an individual you is amazing. No one else on earth is you. Right. So it's like, hey, look at, like, show yourself off. Like, come on, let's go. Like, all the power to you. Cris, thank you.
No, thank you, Cari.
Thank you for sharing your journey and what you've been through. And I just love, like, the little kid going into the studio. That would be me. I would sneak into, like, a radio studio and, like, check it out and be like, oh yeah. And actually I had an opportunity, and I was, actually went on a tour this morning of a local arena, our NHL arena here in Calgary. They're actually tearing it down in 2 years because they're rebuilding a new one. But I got to go into, like, it was kind of like a backstage tour of everything, like, and it was like I got to go to, like, the media room, and it kind of doubles a little bit as, like, when the concerts come into town, they do, like, meet and greets in the media room and all this stuff. And I was like, oh, that's so cool.
That's cool.
So I got to, like, be in that area, and I was like, oh yeah. And then that, brings to life more of what I want to do with my business and with musicians and everything. And it's just like being in the same room as somebody else, like Taylor Swift or these other bigger names that are in, music, like U2 or whoever that's been here. And because a tour guide listed off so many names and whatever. And it's like, yeah, like, just, they're regular people too, but they had that moment too at one time going, oh, I was in the same room as so-and-so, like, they're heroes. And it's like, wow, it's cool. So it's
they all have heroes.
They do. Everyone's got, like, a mentor, someone they look up to. And, like, even the biggest names on this planet have somebody they looked up to. So it's never a no. It's never a, just keep going. There's so many possibilities out there. And it's never like, just keep going, go, whatever people say, just keep going.
Every no is one no closer to a yes.
Exactly.
And you only need one yes.
Yeah. And those that are actors know that the best, because no is their lifestyle. They go to
Well,
auditions.
so it's the same
No.
for a writer. So
Yeah.
yeah. The
Yeah.
only difference between a writer and an actor when it comes to all of that is they're getting no to their face, whereas the writer is getting it to their story. So
Yeah. But that just means that person doesn't want it. There's somebody else that
well,
wants it.
no, what it really means is it wasn't meant to be anyway. Why are you chasing after something that's not aligned?
Yeah.
You want to work with the person who says yes anyway. So
Exactly.
a no is actually is a gift.
It's a good thing. Yeah.
It's a gift.
Absolutely.
You can move on and you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah. Perfect. So anyone that wants to reach out to Cris, blissfulspinster.com.
Blissfulspinster.com is the website. You'll also find my Substack, like a link to the Substack there. You can also find me on Substack at The Blissful Spinster if you just want to head there. And that's my actual email list that I'm not going to start curating. And you'll find stories about spinsterhood, but you're also like, because you're following me, you're following all of me. I'm also an accidental organizer. I organized a couple of protests at our national park. I'm also, I wrote about the last few years and why we didn't talk about it, but I just evaded eviction by the skin of my teeth because my friends organized a GoFundMe where I raised $12,000, and I must have done something good in my life because my friends rallied. Yeah. So it's really humbling, and thank you to all my friends if any of them are listening to this. Yeah. And then you can find me on Instagram at PG FREEK. So it's PG Freak with 2 E's. And I think I sent you all of that you can put in the.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So you guys can reach out there. And if you have any questions or comments, again, comment below and we'll get to them. And of course, again, if you want to donate and help out Chris's film, please do. Like these are just things we need out there.
I just it's about to get a fiscal sponsor. So I haven't, the website will be set up soon too for the film. I do own alonegirlmovie.com that I got right after I finished the script because I'm that savvy. But I'm being set up with a group called SynFem, which is a fiscal sponsor that sponsors women-led films. And that means that if you donate through their platform, you can count your donation off on your taxes. I don't know how it works with Canadian side, but if you're American,
probably the same. We are the same. If you go to a charity and then you can.
So if you want to donate that way, that'll be up soon, and I can make sure that I tell Carrie and tell you guys. But secondarily, anything you purchase, parts of those proceeds will be going towards the film. So
awesome. Okay, thank you, Cris, so much again.
I'm
all these wonderful words. Don't go anywhere. I'm just gonna put you back in the green room, and
Great. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you very much. Thanks, everyone, again for tuning in for Connected W Cari. Yes, a long show, but it was good. So much information right there. And, just be yourself. Be out there. Love you. That's, I think, the biggest thing here. Chase your dreams. Do all the fun things. And, of course, make sure you guys tune in next week. And always stay connected. Good night, everyone.